Welcome everyone back to the Pommy in Oz channel, and I'm joined today for the fan preview for our feature game, which is the Pies versus the Tigers, by a legend, good friend of mine, but also a big enemy of mine during the season. But we do love him regardless. The legend that is Swoop. Luke, how you doing, my friend?
Good, Pommy. Thank you for having me on, mate. How you going?
Oh, mate, I'm looking forward to this one, surprisingly. I mean, considering it's two teams that I hate, I will be watching this on Friday night. And it's become like almost the tie of the round, hasn't it? With Richmond have been, I wouldn't say sensational, but last week they started to show a little bit. And you guys have come out of the blocks firing, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been a crazy 2 weeks since the season started. When you're already getting tagged as, I think we're like favorites to win the premiership and stuff, and it's round two, and when you're winning a game by 70 points, against someone as good as Port Adelaide were in that first round, you kind of want the lid to come off. And as soon as the siren went, the lid was off, and a couple of hours later, the lid goes on. You're like, hang on a second, it's only round two. The accolades are nice, but it's a bloody long season.
It is. I do remember a lot of your fans reminding Carlton fans that the Premiership isn't won in March when we went to an Osa. I'm enjoying the restraint you're showing. I mean, obviously, let's talk about. We talked heavily on this channel, much to the annoyance of Carlton fans, that I didn't believe Collingwood were falling out of the eight. I went against the media. I thought Tom Mitchell was going to be the answer to all the critics. And that does look fearsome, doesn't it? With Tom Mitchell gift feeding, particularly the Dacos brothers, who have been sensational round 1 and 2. Little bit of thoughts of this new game style that you're seeing from McRae. How are you feeling about that?
Look, we kind of saw it in spurts last season. Going from Buckley's ultra defensive, almost chess-like game plan, those last few years, McRae he couldn't really put his stamp on not only the team, like the personnel. He kind of had to go with Buckley's team into last year, and he admitted, and the Pies players admitted that they were learning week in, week out. It was a different sort of game plan, or changing the game plan every week. Now we've had 12 months of that. We know that we are a very good slingshot counter-attacking side, because we had to be, because we were just getting smashed in clearances. And now they've said, we're 17th in clearances last year. Let's bring on the best clearance player for the last 5, 6, 7 years, however long Mitchell has been that sort of clearance player, and it's just paid dividends. Like you said, it's freeing up a lot of players. Taylor Adams looks like he has a new lease on life. He's this goal kicking mid now that is hitting top speed, and he doesn't have to get his body bashed and bruised every game. Tom Mitchell's kind of doing that, and Tom Mitchell's been playing with a back complaint these last 2 weeks, so he's been playing that good with a bit of a niggle in his back. So I can't wait to see him at 100%. If he gets to 100%, I can't wait to see him go that extra step as well.
And what are your thoughts on this matchup? Because I think on paper, particularly what we saw with Richmond last week, Richmond probably have the natural game style that could be a problem for Tigers. They love you attacking them, and that's how they hurt you on the counter. We saw Carlton really negate that round 1 and take that away from them, which was kind of boring to watch.
Yeah,
they've got a few outs, but what are your initial thoughts going into this matchup?
If there's anyone that can kind of knock us off at the moment, it would be Richmond, because you got to think that McRae learned pretty much a lot of what he knows, not only from Clarko, but from Hardwick. He coached the 2017 VFL Premiership for Richmond. So that's where we get our sort of game plan from. And like you said, there's a lot to learn from that Carlton round 1 game. Yes, it was boring, but you sometimes you have to play like that to get the job done. And not that you got it was a draw in the end, but you negated that sort of, they love when you push up, because we go 100%. There's no way we can go 100% back. If you ever tried running at 100% and then turning back straight away, you can't do it. So we saw a lot of that against Geelong, where we would push up really well. And, that's one of our sort of game plans. But then Geelong would have 3 or 4 out of the back, and you got to work doubly as hard to kind of to run there and chop off that attack that they're going to have on you, that counter attack. Didn't see it a lot against Port Adelaide because it was Port Adelaide, but we are going to see it a lot with with Richmond, because like you said, that's exactly what they love to do. And they've been doing it for the last 5 years.
And it is a shame, I think, from an impartial that, I mean, we don't like injuries. I mean, it looks like they're going to be without Martin, Short, Broad's gone. He's not injured. He's just a clown. But it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? Because Richmond are always one of them sides that Carlton have played them many a times when they're injured. They're one of them sides that even though they're injured, you just don't trust that they're going to be as bad as, say, a Geelong. I would have had a lot more confidence playing Geelong with the outs than I do Richmond with these outs. Does that like kind of transfer to a Collingwood fan as well?
Yeah, I think it really just transfers to sort of any. They also got Hopper out as well. It really just transfers to any sort of team. Like how many backs against the wall stories have we heard? You know what I mean? Like, look, and that's not to say that they're going to come out and sort of win by 40 points, because those players, Broads are they're all premiership players pretty much, except for Hopper. Broad's really good. Short's really good, and obviously Dustin Martin is Dustin Martin. So those three really do hinder them a little bit. But what's that saying? You never trust a wounded tiger. So it's Collingwood have a sort of mindset, or they used to have a mindset where they would play to the team that they're versing's capabilities. So if we were versing a shit team, we would play thinking that we were going to win and play terribly, and then get done. So McRae knows how to motivate these guys, and hopefully, we just come out of the blocks and hit it hard, because the last thing I want is Tiger fans up and about,
Mate, we've had it a lot as well. Let's be honest. We're well versed as a Carlton and a Collingwood fan. It's one thing that we share, a hatred of hearing the Tigers remind us that they've won a few flags in the last couple of years. This game going into it, who are you looking at if you were a betting man that's going to get the free brownlow votes? Who are you looking at to say he's going to change the tide for us this game?
Look, I think the easy answer is Nick Dacos, because the Tigers don't like to tag, and Ken Hinkley tried to put a half forward on him on Lockie Jones, and who really are the Tigers going to give up? They're not going to put Cochin on him because he'd run rings around Cochin. They're not going to put a Shea Bolton on him or anything sort of like that. They're not going to put one of their better players on him, because without Dustin Martin and those other players, they need that star power to help them win games. They're not just going to negate one of their half forwards to tag Nick Dacos. And the beauty about Dacos is that he can play center half forward if we really needed him to shake a tag. We can put him into the midfield. And we've got so many other sort of midfielders anyway that even if Dacos is getting tagged, someone else can pop up. But I think it's a huge game for Jordan De Goey. He had a really good game against Geelong, kind of willed us over the line against the Cats. Was a little bit quieter against Port Adelaide, but still did what he needed to do. I think it was like 16 disposals, 5 or 6 clearances, half a dozen tackles or whatever it may be. I think that this is a really big game for him to sort of stamp his authority on the league. 25 plus disposals, maybe 2 or 3 goals, and just getting in and under in the clearances as well.
Mate, I like that. You did touch on earlier Taylor Adams. I do see with Tom Mitchell coming a little bit of what we saw from Cripper last year when we brought Hewitt in.
Yep.
Taylor Adams is feasting on having someone else that does the hard yakka. He's not having to sacrifice. And I think some people look at Taylor Adams. He's ironically the guy that I fear probably the most of the Pies, because I feel like he's the most natural matchup to Cripper. Yep. When we were going bad, it was kind of no Cripps, no Carlton. So Taylor Adams is that guy that isn't scared of Cripps. I have noticed that part of Taylor now where he has got them goal kicking. He has got that flair. He's not just a big tough nut. And because Tom Mitchell's there, do you feel like that's going to be a great matchup? Because Tim Taranto has come out of the blocks for Tigers. I think that could be a really interesting little battle in itself. Are you looking forward to seeing that?
Yeah, well, look, Taranto, they recruited him for a reason. Taranto is an absolute gun, and what he's been able to do in this Richmond side for the last 2 weeks, it's just been really good. And there, like you said, there was a point at Carlton where it was no Cripps, no Carlton, and then you obviously build around him, and Cripps can do what he sort of wants. But Taylor Adams has always been that guy where it's not a tag per se, but it's kind of like, hey, I'm here. You're not really gonna get past me. But I'm also going to keep you accountable by doing what I can. You know, we're seeing Taylor Adams kick goals from 50 or pop up and you know, mark it inside 30 meters, but then also going into the middle, getting the handballs out from Tom Mitchell, who's down, you know, in the trenches, getting those balls to him and then getting clearances. So yeah, we're seeing a very new Taylor Adams, someone we used to see kind of when Treloar was around, a little bit. So you know, and Taylor Adams has been really by the Magpie Army anyway, just been like, he can't kick, he can't hit a target, pulls his groin right off the muscle, or right off the bone, comes back and he can finally hit targets. So it's a very, very new android like Taylor Adams.
And with you going into this game, are you expecting the Pies to come out? Obviously, we know Tigers are weak. This could be a real statement week for the Pies. If they go 3-0 and they've knocked off the reigning premiers, and to be honest, in the preseason, I would say Tigers were the reigning premiers, the way the media talked about them. Do you think McRae's going to go out looking for you to impact and play your game style and put them away, or do you expect to see a more conservative Pies?
I think there's going to be no stopping that sort of game plan that we usually play. There will be, obviously, like we mentioned earlier, there will be a couple of changes to try and negate the way that Richmond play. But once you take that dash and that flair out of Collingwood, it's just a whole different game plan. So I think we're still going to keep it. Yeah, I'm going to the game on Friday. It's a Collingwood home game, and I'm thinking there's going to be, it's a Friday night, over 85,000, because our next home game. So we've got Brisbane next week, and that's in Brisbane, and then I think Adelaide in Adelaide, maybe, or maybe Adelaide back here or something like that. So it's not for at least 2 weeks before we see the Pies back at the G or whatever it may be. So I think, over 85,000. And you're right, it's going to be whatever side wins, and I still think it's going to be Collingwood, but whatever side win, it's going to be a big statement game. And I don't think any other sort of team is going to take away from the papers whatever the victor is.
I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's got a great subplot, because obviously if the Tigers get it done, they can say they've done it without their stars. I think if the Pies get it done, though, it's going to be a big statement to say, well, hang about, we've beaten 2 of the top 8 sides in the first 3 weeks. You know what I mean? And if you put them away by 30 plus, not many teams can say, well, we've not just beat sides, we've comprehensively beat our rivals. But who do you fear? Looking at the team sheet for Tigers, it hasn't come out yet. Who's the guy that you're thinking, you know what, we better stop him?
Oh, it's 1,000% Tom Lynch. Like you saw round 8 last year, where we were still kind of getting into McRae's sort of game plan. Jordan Roughhead goes down, so we don't have that key back. Darcy Moore had to play one-on-one with Tom Lynch, and you'll ask any of the 100,000 Collingwood members, and everyone would say that Darcy Moore isn't a one-on-one player. That's just not what he does in the team, you know. So Lynch kicked 6 on him in the first half. And, you know, with the likes of Tim Taranto and their midfielders getting that ball into Lynch, it's going to be really difficult. Thankfully we have Billy Frampton now. I know he's not a Jacob Wiedering or a Ben McKay or anything like that, but he's a player that can actually at least put body heat onto these sort of big guys. So thankfully we have Frampton. I still think that Lynch, kind of like what I said last year in round 23 or whenever we versed Carlton, where I said that Curnow is going to kick 4 and Mackay's going to kick 3 or 4 anyway. It's just about us kicking more than that. I still think Lynch will kick 3 or 4, but as long as he's not kicking, 7 or 8, I think we'll be fine.
He is a nightmare, is old Tom Lynch. He's one of them players as well that he hasn't really set the world alight, has he, this year? And he's done that a few times against Carlton when we played him twice in the year, that he goes 3 rounds where he's done nothing and he's due a goal. And you're hoping the week before he kicks 8, just get it out of your system. But what are the team selections? Do you think you're going to make any changes for this game? We know, obviously, Richmond are going to have false changes. There's circulation of the Nan Curvis I've seen on Collingwood's forums of bringing in Mr. Begg. Is that something that you subscribe to, or is that not something?
Yeah, look, not really. Like round 8 last year, I think we played Begg, and it might have been his first or second game against those big sort of towers. Mason Cox isn't playing. He's got a hematoma on his ribs, so he's probably out for a good part of a month. I think the beauty about it is I always try and look for the positives in a negative. That's just what I've learned with starting the channel and stuff like that. It looks like it might be a shitty night with rain and stuff like that. So you don't want to play 4 or 5 tools in that sort of weather. What I'd love to see is McStay go into the ruck. You saw it against was it against I think it was against Richmond in the finals where he dominated in the ruck. So he'll change with Cameron. So I think the only sort of change is Mason Cox comes out, a forced change, and I think Ash Johnson might come in, or Reece McGuinness might get promoted from his super sub. So if Reece McGuinness sort of gets promoted and he's in our best 22 straight up, you might see Josh Carmichael come in as that super sub. But then you have to think of, is Brody Mychek going to be right? He had that compound fracture to his finger. Just I think you might just tape it up and go. If Cox was playing, you would say that Checkers would come out just to sort of give him another week. But with Mason Cox not playing, I think we need Checkers in. I don't see us making more than 1, maybe 2 forced changes if Checkers is not playing. But at the moment, I think it's just 1 change.
Well, I mean, Ash Johnson, he dominated, didn't he, in VFL the week just gone? He's kind of the peripheral figure, isn't he, at Pies? Like, he seems to be a bit like, I'd say harshly to Ash Johnson. He reminds me of Lockie Plowman when I see your fans, that you either love him or you hate him. There's no one who says, oh, Ash Johnson's okay. It's love him, hate him, love him, hate him. So, I mean, that could be an interesting one because I've got to say, Pies have a nasty habit of bringing in a player for a Friday game who you don't really rate. See Ollie Henry versus Carlton, see Osh Johnson versus Carlton, and he makes a name for himself in that game.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, look, I love Ash, everything about him and how he sort of goes about it. There was question marks on his fitness and stuff. But he's dominated the VFL practice match, dominated last week. I think he kicked 4 goals, took like 10 marks or something crazy like that. And the beauty about Ash is that he's a bit, like you said, he's a bit of an anomaly to other teams. You saw that what he did to Carlton, obviously, but then against Geelong as well in that first final, dobbing that one from the boundary. And, he's not going to be that player in the AFL squad that's going to kick 5 or 6 goals and be your key forward. But he's really good below his legs when he needs to be. And he knows where the ball is. He just has that natural talent. I love those players with that natural sort of that ball radar. They know exactly where it's going to drop and stuff like that. Ash can be that guy if we need that third tool.
Should be an interesting team selection and get into the crux of the matter. Predictions for this one, Swoop. What are we putting our money on?
Look, I don't want to be that guy that kind of comes on here and says, gets really cocky and stuff because I'm trying not to be that guy. But
be that guy.
I see us winning by over 30 points, honestly. Like I said Geelong by 14. I said Port Adelaide by 20. I think this needs to be a statement win. I had us going 4-1, only losing our game to Brisbane, up in Brisbane. So I see us win this game by over 30 points. I'd love to see us win by fucking 50 points, but I see us winning by over 30 points.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm not buying the papers next week if you win by over 50. I'll give this one a whole pass. But Swoop, everyone, check out Swoop's channel. He does do Collingwood content, but he is a quality human being. He's good value. Link is below me in the comments there. But Swoop, mate, love you to pieces, my friend. Can't wait to play you this year. I'm looking forward to that. But I'm enjoying seeing you going well because it'd be nice if both of our sides remained unbeaten until we matched up. I think that would be a great tale for the AFL.
Yeah, it's an interesting prospect when all the sort of bigger Victorian teams are sort of going well and we're dominating. But Pommy, thanks for having me on, mate. Always appreciate it. One of my closest mates on here, and thanks for the opportunity. I love coming on to this. Stepping into this new studio is always nice. I told you on Twitter that I love the new look. Very modern, very chic. And I'm glad to be on your channel as always, bud.
Cheers, my friend. Look after yourself and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, mate. You too. Enjoy.